So I'm pretty sure we all know about calamari rings, which are made from squid, right? So we have developed a veggie calamari ring, which is made by using 3D printing technology, and it employs mung bean protein and microalgae protein. And guess what? This veggie calamari ring also has twice as much as protein as the real calamari ring as well.
Hello, I'm Hadley Marchuk from the American Chemical Society. Welcome to this media briefing from ACS Fall 2023. Plant-based meat options greatly outnumber the seafood alternatives that are found at the grocery store. But today, researchers present how they've created a desirable vegan seafood mimic that tastes just as good as the real thing and has a similar nutritional content. They've 3D printed an ink made from microalgae protein and mung bean protein into rings, mimicking squid rings. They've even air fried their plant-based calamari for a quick, tasty snack. We're joined today by Dejian Huang and Purnima Viyen from the National University of Singapore. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Good morning, Hadley. Thank you for having us.
Dejian, why did you want to create a new fish mimic product, especially from microalgae protein and mung bean protein?
Actually, the fish product or seafood are tasty, nutritious, but it is also pricey and not sustainable in the long run, as well as climate sensitive. And so we have to come up with a new versions of this veggie seafood mimic, which are sustainable and cost effective. And that's the reason we picked mung bean protein and microalgae as the raw material.
Why then did you pick mung bean protein and microalgae protein specifically?
Yeah, because the mung bean is actually a popular food in this part of the world, but it's mainly used to produce starch. And the mung bean protein was wasted along the way. So it's a byproduct that have no value right now. So we want to actually up value the mung bean proteins for this seafood mimic. And so that we can achieve better sustainability. And the microalgae, on the other hand, can be grown in a factory very rapidly. So like it is actually climate change resistant. And so that's the reason the combination of these two can achieve sustainable development.
So, Purnima, how have you actually created these calamari rings?
So to begin with, we start with two protein sources. So we extract protein from mung beans and we extracted protein from microalgae. Then we combine these two protein in different proportions such that we get an edible ink as shown in the figure over here. It is developed into a printable ink and then it is deposited layer by layer such that we can achieve texturization to mimic the texture of a real seafood. Finally, once we can get a self-supporting structure, further it has to be stable enough to sustain the post-processing step, that is the air frying and the deep frying step also, as shown in the right. So on the right, there are two figures. One is for the air fried ring on the top, and bottom you can see the deep fried rings.
And how has your team's plant-based seafood mimic nutritionally compared to a real fish?
So from a nutritional perspective, our product has 20% protein content, which is approximately 20% protein content, as compared to a real calamari ring, which has around 8% protein. So it is more than twice as the protein content. But also, we are also using plant-based omega-3 rich oils in the formulation of our product. And also we can do some micronutrient enhancement to enhance the nutritional profile of the product.
And so then it has similar both fat content as well as protein content as real fish.
Exactly.
And have you tried any of these calamari rings that you've cooked up?
Yes, we have tried the air fried calamari rings, and definitely it had a crispy texture on the outside and the interior was a bit chewy, which is pretty much comparable to a real calamari ring that we get in the market. But however, full scale consumer research is still pending and consumer acceptability still needs to be vetted on this part. Yeah.
Is there a possibility then of commercializing this 3D printed seafood-like product in the future?
Yeah, certainly. I'm very excited about this development, which we can see there are different ways to commercialize it. Actually, the 3D food printer we use is actually quite small. It's a similar size as a typical microwave oven in our house, in our kitchen. So you can imagine, like, we can actually have this 3D food printer in individual household, and then we can actually display the food ink, and then you can print whatever you want at your home. And that would be one way to commercialize, or could be in some restaurant outlets and things like that. And so it's actually ready to be commercialized. But if you're talking about large scale product, like the snack we can grab from our grocery store or convenience store, then it will require a scalability of these microalgae proteins, and as well as the mung bean protein supplies. That one will take a little bit more effort, but I think that is not much of a technology hurdle right there. And I think I can see in the near future, we hopefully can have this healthy snack in the grocery store. Yeah.
And so what's something that you want viewers to take away from our conversation today about this potential plant-based seafood mimic?
Okay, so to summarize, 3D printing is a rapid prototyping technology which has been successfully employed to incorporate sustainable alternative protein sources such as mung bean protein and microalgae protein to produce plant-based seafood mimic. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me about your research today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you
Our
so much.
pleasure.
Be sure to check out our other media briefings for ACS Fall 2023, which will be posted throughout the meeting at www.acs.org/ACS Fall 2023 briefings.